How are you going to actually squeeze your people? How, that sounded really weird. How are you going to squeeze to get the best bang for the buck for your people? Now, well, hey there, and welcome to this week's LeaderBite. With small bathrobes and a bathroom sink, I'm throwing everything at you. Last night I was brushing my teeth and thought this needs to be in the next LeaderBite. I was getting, now my toothpaste here, this tube has been like this probably for the last month. And I'm getting ready to spread it on the toothbrush like I normally do. And as I'm squeezing, I'm thinking to myself, there's still more? How can there still be more? In fact, I've even got a brand new one that's been sitting on the counter here for the last week, waiting for this one to run out. And I thought, yes, leadership concept number one for this week's LeaderBite is, as a leader, how often do you get to a Friday and feel like this, and you're still able to produce, you're still able to pour on other people, you're still able to knock out whatever it is that's left in your tube to give in service to other people. So that's leadership number one. Leadership concept number one. And in thinking that in this hand, what about your people? It's that self-belief that no matter how thin you feel, no matter how flat or gassed you feel in the moment, you should always have that self-belief that I am me and I can produce when it's ready to produce. So that's that leadership concept number one I want to think about this week. The concept number two then is, when I come back on a Monday or a Tuesday or back from a 4-week summer holiday, right? And I produce my brand new refilled tube of toothpaste as a leader, and I go to squeeze, do I immediately grab from here and I squeeze hard and, you know, I get the best bang for buck, but at the same time, in the long run, if that's the short-term gain, what's the long-term pain? Now, my beautiful wife, every time she squeezes her toothpaste onto the toothbrush, she squeezes here, then I have to come up after using that same one and kind of fill it before I get to squeeze out to get my bang for the buck, right, on my toothbrush. So that actually applies to us when we work with our people. How are you going to actually squeeze your people? How, that sounded really weird. How are you going to squeeze to get the best bang for the buck for your people? Now, Colgate, and this is no endorsement to them, but they do have some really bright instructions, and that is, for best results, squeeze from the bottom up. For best results, squeeze from the bottom up. And think about that. When we squeeze from the bottom up, we can actually measure, we can actually produce, we can actually control the flow of product. Now, as you step back into this week, think about that as a leader. How are you going to, with your team, this intentionally squeeze from the bottom up? And what results does that have when you do work from the bottom up in terms of your product or the producing of work that you're trying to go for? Now, the last part and the third, I thought, great concept for this is the old mother's tale of, when it's out, you can't put it back in. And that goes for, in this week's, for the words that we use as leaders. Once you speak, know that that spoken word amongst the people on the phone call, amongst the people in the room, that's out and it can no longer go in. So how can you intentionally time what it is that you're going to say as a leader this week to be very intentional, so that when it's out, you can be proud that it's out and not try and catch it halfway and stuff it back in the tube of toothpaste. Wonderful LeaderBite for this week. We appreciate you being here. Subscribe below, comment below, make some connections about how you can take this tube of toothpaste, flat or fat, and turn it into some golden leadership principles for yourselves. We'll see you next week. Cheers.